Hi everyone, welcome back to another lesson. Now in this lesson, basically we're gonna just change and fill in our store method in our post controller. We're gonna install intervention image. Now there's a reason why I want to do that, because actually I want to resize the images. Because let's say for instance you want to share your image from your blog to Facebook. There's a certain size, I will explain that in more detail when we get there. There's a certain size your image have to be optimally, I would say, make it look good, basically, when you share the image. And just a rough explanation for that, but I will show you when we get there. Another thing is we're going to link, create a symlink for our storage. Now, as you can see, we've got a public file right here. Okay, but only the public file is accessible. And then we have our storage file right here. Now the images is basically going to be stored in our public folder right here in our storage folder. And then we're going to create the symlink between the storage folder and our public folder. So basically images that are stored inside our storage folder will be available publicly. But I will show you how to do that. And obviously the last thing we will do is test. Okay, so let's get started. As you remember, this is what we created in the previous episode. So we got that. So we got our create method. So this part right here, all this information that we're going to create here is basically the ones that we want to store in the database. Okay, so let's make sure that we are well connected and we receive everything from this file. So we just call it this test title. Okay. So let's quickly test it. So let's go to our post controller. So inside here, let me just close this. I want you also to learn how to quickly access your things as well. This will actually speed up your development process instead of actually going in here and actually go to look for where your controllers are. You can do it this way. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay. But another way, like I've showed you, in VS Code, you just press Control P. I don't know how it works with the other editors, as I haven't worked with them. I only work with Visual Studio Code. And you can just start in typing the item that you're looking for. Like you see the post control, I don't have to actually type in post. I can just type PO and C, and actually everything related to POC, it will actually bring it out for me. So then I can just press enter and I can get to my post controller. Much easier than actually going through the file system. Anyway, let's carry on. All right. So as we are here, we're just basically going to return the request. Okay, we can do it like this, or like I was explained before, we can do the die and dump of the request. I'm going to do both so you can basically just see what it looks like on both. Let me just comment this one out and let's do the return first. Let's go to our browser. Okay, and let's press the create. As you can see, it just returned it in JSON format. As you can see, the test title is in there, a method is post, and that's obviously our CRF token right there, just for security purposes, built in with Laravel. Okay, now let's go to our VS Code quickly, and let's just do the die and dump. Okay, so let's do that. Go back to browser, refresh. Test title is still in there. Let's create. Now this is basically the die and dump method. Let me just make it a bit bigger. All right. So basically it gives you a whole lot of information about the request as well. Okay. So basically the session, the attributes, all that kind of stuff is in here. All right. So for me, the quick way just to kind of see the values that I want to look for, I just use the return method. Quite easy, but if you want all the information, you actually just do the die and dump of the request. Right, let's continue. Right, now the first thing that we're going to do is obviously when you receive your items in a request or anything like that, before you store them in a database, you have to validate them. I cannot emphasize this enough. You have to validate your request. Some people, when they create a post, this is one way. You can actually just say post.create cannot spell, dot create, and I can actually just do the post equals to new post, and you can just say basically add basically request all. So anything that the user send basically will add it inside your database. That's not a good thing. So let's create our request. Let's just quickly do that. So by now you guys know how to create one. So we open our terminal. So we're just going to say PHP artisan make a request. Okay. And the request will basically store post request. Right. Just create one. Okay. Or you can do everything. You can do also your validation like this dot validate. I've actually named this before. I'm just repeating it for the guys that might be new to the channel or new to this series. So I'm just showing you guys. So you can do it like this, new request, and obviously an array, and you can actually do your validation in here. But we're not going to do that. We actually do it in a separate request. So let's just open our store request, store post request. Okay, so this is it right here. The authorize, we just turn this to true. Okay, and then we're obviously going to add our parameters right here. Now the one that we have is we've got the cover image. Okay, and this we're going to open an array with all the requirements that we have, the parameters. It's going to be required. The image is required. Okay, so if you don't want the image to be required, you can actually just change it to sometimes. Okay, so it will only be sometimes available, but for us, we're going to do it required for now. And mem types. The next thing we want to make sure what kind of images, like just type in mimes. Okay, for us, it's going to be PNG, JPEG, or we can add SVG or GIF. All right, it's one of the requirements. Another one will be a max. Now the max will be basically the value, the maximum size. For us, it's just going to be 2048. So basically 2 meg. You can make it whatever you want. Okay. The next thing that we're going to add is obviously the title. Okay, so the title, that will be an array of, the title is required. Okay, it must be a max of 200 characters. Okay, and minimum, so you can obviously enter min, and a minimum value of at least 10. Okay, otherwise it won't make sense as a title. The next thing that we have, let's go to our browser quickly. All right, so we've got our image as rules. We've got our title. Now the thing is, we need to do our category as well, because it have to be in a category. So we can just do the category ID in there, the body, schedule date, obviously the tags, and meta description. So let's quickly add all of them. All right, the next part that we have is a category. Category, come on, category ID, right? And that will be required. Okay, so you can obviously also add, no, we can leave it, because you can actually add, say, numeric, so it must be a number, but it doesn't matter, so we can just leave it like that. Okay, the next one that we have is obviously the body. Okay, the body is required. We're not going to put a maximum value on the body because if the user can type as much information as they need in the blog post, but we're going to add a minimum value of, let's say, 2, let's say 5, because I want to do the testing and I don't want to, let me just do 5 as well, yeah, because I don't want to type in too many things in there. Right, the next thing that we got to add is the published. Published add date for us that have to be required. Let's just do required. Okay. Just remember to put the commas because items separate in array separate by commas for now. Okay. The next part that we have is the tags. Okay, the tags. I'm just going to put as required. You can obviously add as many parameters as you want. What you guys need in there. For the next one, let's see. Let me just go back to the browser again. Okay, so that will be the meta description. I'm going to do this required. If it's a single one right here, you don't have to put the brackets, but I like everything to be uniform. Otherwise, this got an array right there, and then this kind of will impact my OCD a bit. That's why I kind of keep them the same like this. Okay. So the next thing is meta description. We're going to do required. The next thing is I just want to do a minimum of, let's say, 5 again, and I want just do a max of 250 because the meta description, you don't want to have paragraphs upon paragraphs. So let's do this. Okay, so we've done our validation rules. Okay, so this is basically all of that. And inside our post controller, we need to, instead of the normal request, we actually use the StorePostRequest. Okay, so we import it right there and just make sure it's imported at the top. Just right there. Let me just move it a bit down. The intervention image, that's the one where we're going to still install. So I just kind of kept it right there. I will show you in a sec how to do that. Right. So now we can actually create our post. All right. So let's just return the post again, the request. Let me just return the request. And actually just want to see if the rules are being validated. Okay, let's do that. Let's go to our browser. Okay, let's just press create. All right, you can see that the cover image field is required, so our validation works there. The title field is required. The body is working. And obviously the meta is working. So these fields are obviously, let's just check what is happening right here. Right, so inside here, let's go to our create. Okay, so that is obviously our links. This is actually our form right here. So there's our input error of our cover image, so that works. Our title, that worked. This is our category. As you can see, our category field doesn't have an error page, so let's just copy our error in here and just paste it underneath this, because we want to, if there's any error, we just want it to be displayed. That's why I just press the test button to make sure that all the validation works right there. Our input error worked for the body. Our schedule date doesn't have an input error, so let's just copy that error again because it didn't work. So let's paste it in here. As you can see, we're just going to change it to published add date so that we can make sure everything have validation. Otherwise, the user is not going to have a good user experience, because let's say they didn't select the published add date. There's not going to display any information to say like, listen, the published add date is required. So we need to put that errors in there. Right, the next thing obviously is in our tags. So let's copy, make sure we copy that, move to our tags, and underneath our select field right here, we need to do actually our input error right here as well. So let's just do it for the tags like this and just save it. Okay, so let's try it again. It's always a good thing to test when you do your developments and stuff like that. So let's do a create. As you can see, our cover image, our title, our category field is required. The body, the publish add, the tags fields, and the meta description. So the validation works. So everything is perfect. All right. So let's start creating our form. Right, so we're done with the validation part. Now we're going to create a post. Let's just delete that. And now we're just going to do post equals to new post. All right. Now I'm not going to do it like how I've done the tags. I'm going to do it in another way. Let me just show you. If we go, let's try, I think we did it in our tag controller. Just open that. We actually update like this and the create like this. Let's do just check the category controller quickly. Pardon me. We're actually going to do it the same as this. We're going to use this method. You can do it however you want. Okay. But I'm doing both ways so that you can decide at the end of the day which way works better for you. All right. That's basically what this is about, because both ways are right, but which one works better for you, what makes it easier for you to code, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the post controller. So let's create our post. All right, so we're going to do the post. Just put this up a bit. Post.title. Okay, that's equal to the request.title. All right, just move it a bit like this. All right, and the post dot, I'm actually going to do the image right now, because the thing is, what we want to do is, let's say, because I know we put the update field as required, but what I want to do is I want to check if there is a cover image, then I want to use to create the image. If there's not a cover image, I don't want to create the image. Right, just to show you, because in our case it's required, so I don't have to do this, but I just want to show you if you don't want sometimes your users, or let's say whoever you design the block for, let's say the image is optional. So basically you're going to put there under our store request right here, you're going to, instead of required, you're going to put here maybe sometimes. Okay, so instead of just putting like post.cover image, okay, equal to the request.cover image, you actually want to put it like an if statement. So how are we going to do that? So the method that we're going to use is basically if the request, okay, if the request has file, okay, let me just put it like this, if the request has a file called cover image, okay, so if the request has that file, okay, then we want to basically work with that file in here. So okay, let me just put something in there, no, like this. Right, so if the request is a cover image, then we're going to actually save the cover image. But since we do it as required, we don't need to put that in there, but I'm going to leave it as is. I'm actually going to just fill it in if that field is sometimes available. All right, so in order for us to actually work with the cover image, we need to install intervention image. I just want to show you what it is. So if we go to our browser and we open a new tab, okay, then you just type in intervention image. Okay, then under that, we're just going to go to, let me just make this a bit bigger for you guys. Under that, you're just going to go to installation. Okay, then you're going to have this PHP Composer require intervention image. Okay, this is basically what we're going to use to actually resize our images and stuff like that. So I'm not going to use a lot of the information or methods that they have right here. I'm just going to use one or two. All right. In order to install it, you can use this command right here, but we're not going to use that. But let me do it quickly. All right. Let's go to VS Code. All right. What we're going to do is PHP. No, we're just going to do Composer require intervention image, like this. just composer require intervention image, press enter, hopefully no errors, and it will actually start installing it for you. All right. Okay, that's all done. That was quick. All right. So what we're going to do now is we can actually, we actually don't store the image itself in the database. Okay. So what do? We're actually going to store the image inside our storage folder under app, under public. We're actually going to store the image right here. And what we're actually going to save under this post.cover image, we're actually going to store the path to that image right here. Okay. So let's get started. So the first thing, I'm just going to call an image. Okay. So the image will basically be the image that we're going to get from the request. Okay, so request dot cover image. Okay, so we're basically getting the image, this image right here, from the request. Okay, so that's the first thing. Let me just request dot file. Let me just do like this: request dot file cover image. Okay, so that's basically the image we have right there. So let's just remove the error. Just make this a little bit smaller. Okay. The next part, why is it giving me error there? I think I left out, just as you can see, I open it there. So used to JavaScript functions. Let me just remove this now. Just put a comma right there and just remove the extra one right there. Now it's fine. Okay, because the if actually have its own parentheses, then the as file has its own parentheses, then we've got an opening and closing curly braces right there. So now it's all good. Okay. The next thing that we need to fill in right now is basically we need to get the original file name. Okay, so how do we do that? So we're going to say image name. Let me just do like image name equals to the image that we just, this variable right here, image, like image, okay. Then we got a Symfony method called get original file name, right? So original name, okay. So now we got the name, okay. The next thing that we need is, do we create, let me just kind of just make it a little bit neater so that you guys can easily see. The next thing that we're going to do is we need to basically create a new name. So I'm just going to create an image, a new name. Okay, so basically this is the original name and I'm just creating a new name. So how am I going to do that? I'm basically just going to explode. This is a PHP method. And inside this, I'm just going to use a dot notation and add basically that image name right here. So basically, I'm just adding a dot to it, okay? That's all I'm doing. So let me quickly, I've got all those fields required. I will show you basically what the extension looks like. All right, and now we're basically going to create a file extension. Okay. Now that extension will basically be a time. Okay. Then we're going to concatenate a dot as well. Okay. Then we're going to concatenate basically the image name, that new name that we have right there. And then we're going to concatenate another dot. Okay. And then we're going to concatenate the image dot get original extension. Let's see if I can get it. right? So basically original extension. Okay. So let me show you basically what this does. Let me just make a comment here. So basically what are we doing now is we're going to add, the time is basically going to be a timer right here of like this. Okay. Then it's going to add a dot. Now let's say the original file name, this one right here. Okay. Let's say that was pick, just as an example. All right. So basically this, okay, then dot, and the new name is basically that dot. Okay. Then we add another dot basically behind it right there. And then it's going to be dot PNG. This basically what this does is just the get original extension will basically dot .gpg or dot .png. Basically, that's all it does. So the reason for that is to have in your, let's say you've got images with the same name. They won't be able to, unless some miracle, if some users created at exactly the same second, then they will have the same time. Otherwise, every image that you save in your database will basically be a unique image. So that won't clash with another name, for instance. Okay, so they will all have a unique name. Right, now the next part that we're going to do is we're going to add a location. Okay, location basically mean where do we want to save this image. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to do it in the storage folder. Okay, so storage path. Okay, now inside the storage path, let's just show you where it is again. So inside the storage path under public, we're going to create a new folder inside the public there, and we're just going to call it blog. Okay, or you can call it images like this. Okay, your choice. Okay, so for me, I just call it images for simplicity's sake. Okay, so basically what we're going to do now is under the storage path, basically the public, we're going to put in images. Okay, then / and what we're going to do is we're going to concatenate basically that file extension. Just make this a bit better. File extension like this. Basically, we're going to save that, basically that whole image we're going to put in here. So basically it's going to store it in that place. All right, now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to use intervention image. Okay, make sure it's imported at the top. Right, yeah, this one right here. Make sure it's imported. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to call make. Okay, we're going to make that image of us, the image, we're going to resize it. Okay, we're going to resize it to 1200 by 630. Now you might wonder, that sounds a little bit odd of a size. Now the reason for that is, like I explained to you, Facebook. Let's go quickly to the browser and I want to show you why. So if we open a new tab and we just type in OG image. Right, and then we look for Facebook webmaster sharing. Okay, developers.facebook, just open it. Now I'm just going to make this a bit bigger for you guys. Let's just see the guide. This is not the one I'm looking for. Just give me a sec. Let's go back. Let's go back and type in OG image size. Right, they got it here 1200 by that, but let's go to developers.facebook again. Okay, this time it's on the right place. You can make your images 200 by 200. The maximum file size must not exceed 8 megs. Images that are at least this size for best quality on high resolution devices. Now the thing is, a lot of people nowadays are using high resolution devices. Okay. Now the thing is, what I found is if we actually just save it this size, you can actually, when you share it to Facebook and places like that, you can actually have nice quality images. Everything looks good. You look professional. Your user that though you build the website for, they actually just look, everything just looks crisp and clean and neat, and you want it to look professional. So that's why that size is in there. Okay, let's go back. Let me just close this. I don't need that now. Okay, so let's go back. All right, so now what we're going to do after we resized it, we're just going to say save. And where do we want to save it? In the location. Right, the location that we have right there. Okay, and we have to cross our fingers and hopefully everything works. The next thing is we need to do the post. Okay, now this is actually where we do save the image in the post. Okay, so post.coverImage, that is equal to the file extension. Okay, so basically this is what we save in the database, and this is where we actually save that image in that size. Okay, all Gucci stuff. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we need to obviously add all the other stuff that we have. We got the post.body. Okay, that's going to equal to the request .body. Okay, the next part, I remember the post.category ID. But winter, fingers cold. Okay, post.category ID equals to the request ID. Okay, so that is the post ID. We obviously need to add the published add date. Okay, the published add date is going to equal that to request dot published add. Okay, the published add, what do we got? The meta description. You will see now what we're going to do with the tags. Description. And equal that to the request description. You don't have to do this. I'm just doing it for ease to see where everything is so that you guys can see it. You can actually leave it as is right there, just with a space. Okay, but I'm just doing that so that you guys can see everything, so you guys' eyes are not all over the place. And I obviously need to add the meta description. So we got our title, we got our body, and this is obviously wrong. Okay, we got our published add date, category ID, we got our meta description. Obviously now the next part that we're going to need is we need to actually save the tags. Okay, so when we save the post, now what we need, let me just show you if we return the request. There's something I want to show you. Let me just do this. Okay, let's return the request because you might run into this problem in the future. I just want to show you it quickly. Okay, let me just quickly recap what I've done, what I've added. I just created a post in the post.title. Okay, then you do the post request the body. You do the same for the category ID, same for the published add, the meta description. Okay, inside our image, we just need to remember to add the post.coverimage.file extension. Okay, then we obviously image.make, resize to that and that. Okay, the next part is to actually save the post. Okay, now we save the post, and then the post.sync and tags. Now we haven't created the tags variable yet, Okay, let me create it for you. Now the thing is with the tags is we're going to, let me just create it at the top right here. Right, now the tags is basically going to be a string, and we actually want to separate them into its own with a comma, but I will just show you the request dot tags. Okay, like this. Oop, I need to add a comma right there. Okay, I'm just going to remove the request for now. Just request like this, so we don't do any validation. Just going to replace it now. I just want to show you something. Return request. Okay, let's go to our browser. In here is, let's say we create a post. As you can see, the tags return is 1, 2, 3, basically, because that's basically the tags that we created. But now let me return the tags after we've done what I've just shown you. Now, instead of the request, I'm just going to move it underneath and just do it with the tags. Tags like this. Okay, let's go back to our browser. Refresh, resend it. Now, as you can see, it actually assigns each tag its unique ID right there. Okay, so you will have 1, 2, 3. So now they separated in their own components. Quite good. Right, let's move on. Otherwise, you would have a little bit of a problem of storing the tags. Okay, so let's go back to our VS Code. Okay, so we delete this. So we can create the post. If it has that, we sync the tags as well. Okay. The next part that we're going to do is we just need to redirect after we've done that. So we saved and return redirect. Okay, to a route. And we're just going to call it post.index. Now we're going to redirect with, okay, and success. Okay, success and post created success for there. Awesome stuff. Now the thing is, we need to still create that symlink, that link between our storage folder right here. Okay, this one right here where the images are, and our public. Okay, so in order to do that, let me just clear this. We're just going to do PHP artisan storage like this, and you just press link. That's all. When you press enter, as you can see, it created the link for us. Okay, so let's close it. So we got a storage. So under public, we have a new file right here called storage, and you will see the image folder right there. Okay, so it's supposed to work now. So we've done this, we installed that, we created the symlink, and now we need to do a test. So let's go to our browser and hopefully everything works. And just remember to do your validation, store post request, make sure you replace it there. Okay, so let's save it and hopefully it works. Reason why I say hopefully, anything can go wrong, spelling mistake or things like that. I'm just going to use this thumbnail. Test title. Okay. Category, I'm just going to select holidays. This is a body. Okay, schedule that for that date. Some meta description. Fingers crossed. Create array to string conversion. Let's say, where is the problem? Well, just a couple of changes we need to make quickly. Now the storage path that we're saving to, just remember, it must be under app, public, image, right there. Let me just delete this because we don't need that. That was just for test. Okay, so under app, storage, public, images right there. So basically the storage path that we just put app, public, okay, then images, then obviously the file extension and the image name right here. Just add an array of 0. Okay, so it would just take the first one. Okay, so if you do get an error, okay, obviously we need to add the slug as well. Let me just do the post while I remember before we get an error as well. Post.slug. Okay, the slug will be just a string with a slug and request dot title. Okay, just like this. So our slug is added as well. So now the thing is what I want to show you. So we got that done, the public path. If you get an error to say that your version doesn't support a GD library, let me show you what it is. If you go to your panel right here, you've got to config your PHP INI file right here. Let's just open it. Now just Control F and you find GD. Just press GD. Okay, you will see an extension right here. It's commented out if the semicolon is in front of it like this. It means, let me save it and let me show you what happens. Okay, so if you do get a GD library error, now I'm saving it so that we can see that error as well. Now I'm going to create this post. Add the string. Okay, I did. Always remember to import. Okay, let's do that again. Right, resend. Okay, author ID doesn't have a default value. Obviously, we need to add the author ID. Like I said, no worries. Okay, so we're going to do the author ID. So don't be afraid of errors. So if you do see them, and request dot. Now this one is basically all we're going to do is we're going to just say auth dot user ID. So basically authenticated user will be just assigned that author ID. Okay, so let's go to our browser again. Okay, so the post.sync, the tags.sync, in order to sync the tags, just make sure it's like this. I just forgot to add the tags right there. And for the auth ID, just use the auth facade, okay, and just make sure you obviously import it right here at the top, the auth facade right there, okay. So just do it like this, okay. Just hopefully everything is working. And if we go to our controller again, to our browser, sorry, okay, you will see that we got our image, we got our holidays, the body. Now the problem is we will get an error with the date format. Let me just choose it like this. The date format will be an issue in the database. So let's, on the pick a day, you will see if we format our date like this. Let me just copy this. If you do get an error of incorrect format, just copy the pick a day right here under Blade UI Kit. Okay, just copy that. And let's go back to VS Code. This is also a bit of a long episode. Under the create method, we're just going to, under pick a day, just add the format date right there. It just formats it the way the database actually saves it. Right? So we got our tags, we got a post. Let me just make sure everything is in here. Okay, so it's supposed to work now. Okay, let's go. I think I'm going to keep in all this errors and things like that, because normally you will run into them yourself, so that you guys can know how to deal with them and work with them. Let me refresh. Okay, we've got our test title. Let's just choose our tags, just today as well, and create. All right, post successfully created. All right, so cool stuff. And let's use descending. So as you can see, we've got our test title in there. we created right now and under the category of holidays. So that's it. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions or any misunderstandings, please ask them in the comment section. I will reply to them. I will try, I will try to reply to them. Thank you for your feedbacks, and like if you like it, dislike if you don't like it. As always, see you in the next one. Thank you guys, and we're gonna still add this feature right here, the button, and we obviously, as one user asked in the comments, we obviously gonna bring in our post right here as well. We're still gonna do that as well. Once we're finished with the posts, because right now we can create, we have our index method, we can create them. The next part is to basically edit our post. So if we click this button right here, we must be able to go and edit that post as well. So that will be in the next video. That will probably be a shorter video. And then after that, we can obviously, we edit them with edit and the update will go together. And the delete we obviously have done already. So just those two. Once we're done with that, we will go to basically our main page and actually do the styling and edit it and just finish the episodes off. All right. But before that, because we still need to add the subscribe to our newsletter so that they can be able to link that to our MailChimp as well. So we will do that. So if the users are subscribed to our newsletter, they automatically get put into the MailChimp's database for the subscription, so you don't have to add them manually. And yes, we're still going to do a lot of stuff. So if you like it, just say if you like it and all that stuff. Thank you guys, and goodbye.